between CGIAR centers, government agencies, and Africans. The African partnership with Africans is so critical. I learned a lot from this partnership. Firstly, it really provided a very strong platform for us to hear, to listen, to demand from our key partners here in Africa. And to make our research, make our support relevant and legitimate. Our system, CGIAR system, is set to serve the poor and hungry people. So without that, the existence of CGIAR centers will be questioned. The second, we provided evidence to support various ReSAKSS activities, and evidence base to support that partnership is another important element of the success. But today, the CGIAR is undergoing dramatic changes. I just came back from Moyo. All the CGIAR center directors, board chairs, together with the consortium board, some of the key owners were there, and we discussed new strategy. We discussed the next round of CGIAR risk programs. We also discussed the reform of CGIAR. So all this brings several important directions, and it is very, very relevant here today. One is this partnership. It's so critical. Whom we are going to partner. What sort of demand should we have from our partners? How can we help them? The second round of the strategic results framework of CGIAR will involve lots of consultations with the partners here, including lots of the here sitting in the room. Capacity building is another key component of the CGIAR. Even 4 years ago, I remember when we were CGIAR before. Capacity building is another key word. Key demand from our stakeholders. For the last 5 years or 4 years, doing this risk program implementation, that keyword has not come up very strong. But in the next 5 years or 10 years, next round of CGIAR risk program, capacity building has to be prominent to make sure that the partnership is based on capacity building of some of the key partners. And here, I have to say the ReSAKSS is a very good example for all the CGIAR centers to work together. We struggled a bit, I remember 7 years ago, but today I'm very proud that the 4 CGIAR centers involved in ReSAKSS support have really improved the way to work together. So the Director General from ILRI, from IWMI, and from IITA, we shared our thoughts about the conference here. So they couldn't come and send their requests here, but they are truly committed to work together, to provide evidence, to provide the data, knowledge, information, to strengthen our partnership with our African partners here. So the strong commitment from centers is here and will be here for the next 5 years or 10 years. With that, John, that's about my reflection, initially reflections.
Thanks, welcome back to later. I want to turn now to Abebe. And so I've been here all week, working closely with people in the AUC and with various partners. This is kind of a unique partnership, ReSAKSS, and I guess you'll have experience with a lot of other partnerships as well, but from your perspective, as the chief kind of coordinator of all these actions and things, how do you see these kinds of partnerships like ReSAKSS? Why are they valuable for you? How do they work? And then maybe later I'll ask you how they might work better.
Thank you, John. Good afternoon. And Shenggen, and also my regards to the panelists. I thought I was going to be the earliest of life. It's good to note that we are punctual. It is by way of a follow-up to what Shenggen has said. A lot of things are happening in Africa, as you are aware. We are at the moment talking about Malabo Declaration, to be very specific. Basically defining the agenda for agricultural transformation and growth for the next 10 years. This kind of developments will have implications, consequences on how we should do our business. The CGIAR, they have been making a lot of contributions globally, but also in Africa. As you know, if I'm not mistaken, five city centers are headquarters in Africa. ILRI, Africa RISE, ICRAF, IITA. The African Union has memorandum of understanding, partnership already, formal partnership with three of them, with ILRI, with Africa RISE, with IFPRI. We have also a memorandum of understanding with the CG consortium. The purpose, if I can summarize it, is into two. One is what Shenggen has said. We should make advantage of the capacity constraint has been an issue in Africa, and the city systems should their position, we believe, to provide a lot of contributions in that area. The second is to strengthen synergy and complementarity between the different programs. Now, Shenggen has already talked about demand. For us, CAADP, and recently the Malabo Declaration, for example, is an expression of Africa's demand, what would constitute, what would guide action for the next years. And it's our belief that partners, such as the CG centers, should align, should make their programs relevant, should respond to this demand. And there is no other perfect example than ReSAKSS, for example, as how that kind of alignment or making programs relevant to the needs, to the demands, real demands, expressed in Africa. ReSAKSS, as we've been listening to several presentations, was created in response to demand generated for knowledge, for information, support systems, for CAADP. This demand is increasing, it is growing, and we are anticipating the corresponding expansion in the supply of the knowledge, information, support systems. Let me just, moderator, let me just mention, because the reference point for now, I would like to talk more about the declaration. I go with the copy wherever I go. And the last section of the declaration, part 9, is call for action. And it talks about the EU Commission Net Agency with partners to develop mechanisms that enhance Africa's capacity for knowledge and data generation and management, to strengthen evidence-based planning and implementation, to institutionalize a system for peer review that encourages encourages good performance on achievement of progress made in implementing the provision of this declaration and recognize biennial exemplary performance through awards. I've mentioned this was it yesterday or the day before. And to conduct on a biennial basis, beginning from 2017, agricultural review process and report on progress to the Assembly at the January 2018 ordinary session and every 2 years thereafter. So the demand for data generation, the demand for monitoring tracking progress, the demand for analysis of data is going to be huge. But also the demand for support for policy analysis at country level. If you look at the declaration, every provision expressed by member states in terms of commitment is to review and implement policy and institutional reform. And we would like to see this review be informed by rigorous analysis, which should be based on evidence. So ReSAKSS, I think we are very happy that we have started. It's making progress, it's making contributions, significant contributions. We're learning from it, and it is a lesson that we want to share with other programs as we develop them through the partnerships with other citizens as well.
Thank you, Gabriel. That's great. So we've got the clear demand instructions from the heads of state coming to us through AAC. That's great. We know that, and that kind of defines the what, because those are coming out through country investment plans, through the CAADP roadmap framework, and moving on to results framework. But I think I want to come back to you, Shenggen, for just a second, because what we do is important, but it's also how we do it. And so, what changes have you seen during your time in this kind of work? And how do you see even additional changes in the kind of how we work in these partnerships over time? Because I think I noticed quite a bit of a difference in that. And you've been in this for a long time. What do you see?
Well, anything we do is part of learning, so we learn from what we have done. I think in the very beginning, I think we struggle in among different sectors. We are working in silos on different issues. Some are working on animals, some are working on crops, some are working on people, but all the time we have learned and how we work together, how we use each other's strength, reinforce each other's strength, and to really improve synergies among different centers. I think my colleagues will probably come back. And sometimes also capacity building for ourselves. We have capacity to work with others, capacity building for our own team, our own partnership is not an essence we learn all the time. And the other big lesson is we should also learn to give up something. So not just everything has to be driven not by me, but by us. How can we work together to join in this effort? So that is a big message, at least from my side. We learned. Now, the technology also helped. In the very beginning, I remember also when I was struggling on how we could set up a platform, an internet-based platform. So that time, even in the US, the internet is still not functioning as good as today. And obviously, the connectivity was a huge problem. But we knew that sooner or later, the connectivity will improve. And indeed, now in every capital city here in Africa, the connectivity has improved dramatically. Even here, in this building, in the hotel we stay, you can access the knowledge and information provided by ReSAKSS and by many other initiatives. So we have to have that solution, how we can really position ourselves for the future. So in the future, probably the smartphone-based, phone-based information knowledge that can be easily accessed by farmers, by other stakeholders, and actually people with muscles. So be dynamic, be visionary, and in the meantime try to learn how to give up something. Is how.
Thank you. Now I want to turn to the three colleagues in the centers are organizing the regional ReSAKSS in places. And I'm going to start with Victor from IITA. And I mean, Victor, I think IITA is well known for being quite close to development partners in agriculture, having quite strong networks in Africa. How do you see this kind of partnership dynamic working out in the things that IITA does?
Thank you very much, John. Let me begin my talk by expressing my appreciation to, on behalf of my Director General, my appreciation to ReSAKSS and IFPRI for extending their invitation to my institution to be part of this very important workshop. Shenggen has pointed it out, Dr. Sangingan Teranya, my Director General, who I wish himself to be here as part of this panel. But they have sent his regret because he could not make it. So now, coming to your point about IITA and the partnership in the continent, in the region, as you have pointed it out very well, IITA is about 47 years, working mostly in Africa. During this large time of experience, we have established good partnership with several institutions at different levels. And partnership and capacity development are an important component that even at the level of the Deputy Director General in our undertaking. Over the past years, we have seen a lot of dynamics, a lot of changes that are happening in the continent. And we, as a CG Center, I think we need to be following up on those changes and even to be proactive in order to respond to the demand of our stakeholders. In our opinion at IITA, we believe that our reason of being in Africa is because there is a demand for it. And that demand, as well expressed by Dr. Abebe here, is that type of request that makes us to be here on the ground. My institution, we are basically working on commodities and natural resource management. This is a bit of division of tasks among the CG centers. And even where we are working, our principle is always to respond to those issues that affect the poorest of the poor in Africa. We are working on staple crop that everybody needs, especially the poor people. And we know the risks associated with those crops, and we are trying to tackle them by working with regional organizations, national organizations, the civil society, the private sector, and so on and so forth. So we are really here to respond to that demand, and we see a lot of opportunities and dynamism in the continent that should be driving our response to the demand of the continent.
Thank you, Gabriel. I'm going to push you a little bit to say something specific about how this demand that's expressed plays out in terms of different ways that IITA is working than it used to work before. Can you give us an example of how this is changing things?
Yes, a very good example is just what has been happening this week here in Addis Ababa, here at the African Union Commission. Just close by, there was another workshop that started here on Monday that is focusing on a hidden enemy that in the past we were not paying much attention, which is aflatoxin that is causing cancer, stunting on our children. Maybe many of us, we are a bit stunted because we have been eating food affected by aflatoxin and we don't know about it. 10 years ago, or even I would say when I was myself a graduate student, nobody was talking about aflatoxin as a condition. And you see, those are the new developments as science evolves and our knowledge is improved on many stresses. We see that there are new demand, new requests, and the example of aflatoxin is exactly something along those lines. Then we are partnering with the African Union Commission through the backup, and Dr. Abebe is the chair of our steering committee. We are working with the ReSAKSS. We are working with multi-stakeholders in this. This is how I see a center, a CG center, to respond to a specific need of the continent. And that is just an example I can give for now.
Thank you. No, that's a very good example, and the partnership is led by AU, and there's clear agreement on how it's moving. It's exciting. It's an exciting thing. Bonnie, I want to turn to you now. You host a ReSAKSS node. Tell me a bit about how you see ReSAKSS evolving, what you think it's accomplishing, and let's start with that, and then I'll move on to some other things.
Thank you very much, John, and good afternoon, delegates. I also wish to extend my appreciation and bring in greetings from my Director General, Dr. James Smith. He asked if I could assure you of his commitment to continue supporting and hosting ReSAKSS. ILRI hosts ReSAKSS East and Central Africa at our headquarters in Nairobi. We have benefited from hosting ReSAKSS in several ways. One way that is concrete is through sharing of expertise. We contribute from the ILRI scientists participating in some of the analysis that the ReSAKSS node for East and Central Africa is carrying out at regional level and at country level. So that opportunity to have our scientists contributing to responding to the specific needs and demands that ReSAKSS is working on is really good for us. Secondly, we also see ReSAKSS opening up doors for us through the country nodes. ILRI is keen to strengthen our regional operations and regional presence and country presence. And therefore it is important for us that we engage in a way that we are responding to the country and regional and continental needs. And therefore ReSAKSS offers that opportunity for us to contribute and to engage and link up with the relevant stakeholders in country, at regional level, and the continental level. So from the ILRI's perspective, we really see this opportunity for us to actually be able to deliver and upscale some of our in the past 2 days, everyone has been talking about evidence-based results that inform policies. So it is an opportunity that we have, and we're grateful that we host ReSAKSS in Nairobi.
Okay. So like Victor, I'm going to push you a little bit on specifics. So give me one or two examples of where you see these opportunities coming in the future. What ILRI could specifically offer in a different way than they've been before, given the ReSAKSS opportunities to look at the question.
In the past 2 days, I've really found the discussions very informative and stimulating for me at the personal level and for my center. But specifically, one take-home message that I have for ILRI and for the livestock and fish CGIAR research program, which ILRI leads in partnership with 3 other CG centers, that is the World Fish, CAADP, and CGIAR, is to learn or borrow from the ReSAKSS approach on mechanism of engagement. I would really like to speak to that. We saw that ReSAKSS engages at different levels, at continental, regional, and country level. It is important that, and in their approach, they emphasize inclusiveness, and therefore really having an opportunity to engage in multi-stakeholder platforms, multi-stakeholder dialogues. To me, this approach is something that we can use as a livestock and fish CRP. And to give a concrete example, the program, livestock and fish program approach is to focus on targeted value chains and in targeted countries. One of the value chains is the dairy value chain, and the target country for that is Tanzania. And in Tanzania, there is a dairy development forum that is in place. So this is an opportunity for the livestock and fish CRP to engage in that platform. And really, it's an opportunity to align with some of the priority issues, and therefore we develop an inclusive dairy program in Tanzania. So it's really one opportunity that we have, and as we move forward, we seek to strengthen that. So it's the Dairy Development Forum in Tanzania is one concrete example. And I was happy to learn that there's a SAKSS node in Tanzania. So it is also broadening our engagement scope and our networks.
The other point is about holding ourselves into the account. And ReSAKSS is an important instrument. We have developed what we call the current result framework. And ReSAKSS has been extremely instrumental in assisting us developing that. And we say we are going to do this. We're working at the moment on implementation strategy for implementation of realizing the commitments, the Malabo commitments. And the mutual accountability aspect of it is very, very clear. We would like to see the partnerships with the CG system, the CGIAR, to be also part of that accountability. I think this is the understanding. Now, how do we enhance synergies within the AU Commission and also broadly? We're moving towards a very strong system of building synergy and coordination and avoiding overlaps. And again, the Malabo Declaration is an example. It is not only about productivity increase or ending hunger. It's about promotion of trade, for example, which is, there is another department of trade and industry. So we work together in formulating those policies. We work together in making sure that they are implemented, and we work together. And there is a strategic plan as a commission for 2014 to 2017. My department also has elaborated its own strategic and operational plan for the sector fund. And our commitment to synergy and complementarity is explicitly expressed in there. So we use ReSAKSS as a very good example of how we partner with knowledge institutions to put in place a system that helps deliver on commitments.
Thank you very much, Gabriel. That's a wonderful summary of the panel. So it just remains for me to thank the panelists on your behalf, and maybe you can give them a clap. It's been great, and you weren't good, but I can tell you what they're going to do.